So what you do is you fly out from Salt Lake, actually fly out from LA to Seoul, Korea. And so, I mean, that whole leg is just a blast anyway. It's a long flight. And you're excited and you're tired because you don't leave until like midnight. But you get, I remember when I flew in from South Korea to Vladivostok. In our mission, it's interesting because every about 3 months, between every 3 and 6 months, depending what the visa rules are at the time, you have to fly to South Korea for 24 hours to a day, to about 2 days, and get a new visa, and then fly back. And so, so you get to fly to South Korea a lot. But when I flew to Vlad for the first time, I was sitting by the window because I really wanted to go and look at the scenery and everything. And you actually, since you can't fly over North Korea, so you actually fly all the way around North Korea, over China, like this way, and then go in. Because for some reason, I guess North Korean airspace is more out towards Japan, so they fly all the way around this way. So an hour-and-a-half flight takes 3 hours. So, but anyway, the point I'm getting to is that we were flying in, and my companion was sitting next to this big old, really just stereotypical Russian. He was probably in his like 50s, had a big, huge beer belly, had a Russian sailor's cap on. And he got on the plane, he had, you know, a shirt on, everything. And then halfway through the flight, he just basically like unbuttons his shirt so that he has this huge hairy chest and just gut hanging out. And he had 5 beers, I think, on that plane. Like he just kept asking the South Korean flight attendant to just keep bringing him beer. And so he had 5 beers on the plane, and was just these big, huge man with big, you know, kind of like meaty hands. And he was a blast. I didn't understand a single word he said. He was trying to teach us how to say words like corn and beans, because we were asking him like what was in our food, the in-flight meal. So he was trying to tell us what it was, and we couldn't understand it, but we were excited. And you fly, and here's a fun thing. So whenever you go into a Russian airport, so you land, and they don't have the little what do you call it? They don't have the little movable gates that come to your plane. So instead, what you do is you all get out and you walk down the the stairs, and there's this tiny little like bus type of thing, like you see at airports sometimes that move like the pilots back and forth. It's one of those buses, and it sits there, and it waits until every single person on that plane, so all like 120, 150 people, are in the bus. It won't move until everybody's in the bus. And so everybody's crammed into the bus. Everybody has, their carry-on luggage. We're all stuck here and everything. We're all tight. And then we'll drive 30 feet to the gate. And then everybody gets off. But you can't walk from the plane to the gate. You have to get on the bus and wait for 20 minutes. And then it will drive 30 feet to the gate. And so, that's in every Russian airport. So that's just a custom thing that they just do. I don't know why, but it's fun. Interesting note: Russian customs don't exist. Like they do in aesthetics, but like they don't check your luggage. Half the time they don't have the machines on at all. So their airport security is very low key. So like you can so it's nice that way. So yeah, they come into the country. That was one of the big things. When you first get in there, everything's different. Unfortunately, everything is exactly what you thought of, and exactly like the opposite of what you thought it was going to be. And that makes more sense when you get there. Lots of stuff is run down. It's very, very dirty. We're not sure why. There's just dirt all over the place in Russia. No matter where you go, it's just how it is there. But things are run down. You'll see, especially in this mission, you'll see lots of used Korean cars and Japanese cars. You won't see a lot of Russian cars. They're all like old Kias and buses that South Korea and Japan stopped using in the 1980s that are still running in Russia. You will see a lot, like I remember going down the highway, and you will see lots of churches. Every town has at least one Russian Orthodox church. It's called a khram there, khram. And in there, and then the big cities, there'll at least be 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how big it is. And they're beautiful. They're really beautiful. You can't go inside them. they won't let you in the missions. The mission isn't allowed to let you in, but the outside are really beautiful. People, when you first meet them, they always seem like everybody's super mad at you. Like they're very rude. Like they come off like they're rude, like you're bothering their time. But like it's just nature. One thing I've said about Russians, and it's completely true, is that a Russian is a lot like I've heard them explain like coconuts. That they have a really hard shell, but once you break through that shell, they're all like liquidy and gooey and yummy on the inside. Same thing, their hearts are like covered with like a very thin layer of titanium, but as soon as you get poked through that, it's just goo on the inside. And so they're wonderful people, but they don't like strangers. And so unless if they know you and trust you, then they don't really get to know you they don't really want to talk to you or like get to know you. But something interesting off of that, though, Russians are very perceptive about feelings. They can read people like an open book, which is really weird because when you look at a Russian, they almost always look like they're angry at the world, even if they're having the greatest day of their life. They just don't do a lot of facial expressions. But just by the way that you talk and like by the way that they can tell exactly whether or not like you're lying, if you're just saying stuff just to try and get something out of them, or if you're really sincere. And so that's the thing that Russians appreciate. They appreciate honesty. They'll honestly tell you, if they don't like you or if you're doing something wrong or, if they're having a bad day. And so they expect the same thing out of you. So they don't, so if you really want to win over a Russian, you have to be completely honest with them all the time, which is really weird for an American, but it's really, really nice at the same time once you kind of get into that mood, into that groove.